It may seem that today's gospel is about how much money one is willing to give. But using money metaphorically, this message is not about financial management. This message is about what amount of yourself are you willing to give for the sake of knowing God. This woman, this poor widow, becomes an icon of faith, not because of the amount of money she gave, but because she gave all that she had to give. She did not hold anything back. It is our tragedy that there is so often some part of our lives, some part of our resources, some part of ourselves, which we want to hold on to as if it is the essence of who we are. These are parts of ourselves we are not willing to give up for the sake of knowing God. But it is only when we're willing to give all that we are and all that we have and offer it to God that God can do things with us more than we can imagine. This woman became an icon of faith because she understood this truth. Another tragedy for us is that we view ourselves as being self-made, independent successes, measured and determined by what we have done, what we have acquired, such as education, property, investment portfolios, careers, even family, and whatever else we consider as making up a worldly good life. No doubt many people are successful and accomplished doing what they pursue. But the thing about an ego-centered life is that dreams do not last and quite often turn into something else. And we can become stuck there trying to make it right, obsessed with thoughts of the past and worries about the future. If you're truly successful, your accomplishments will bring you to realize there is much more to life than you will ever be able to imagine or achieve on your own. What I'm getting at here is about giving and living into your true self to God versus seeking and living your egoic, self-made self. This dichotomy is what Thomas Merton referred to as the true self and the false self. Merton used these descriptions to explain what Jesus meant when he said that we must die to ourselves, or that we must lose ourselves in order to find ourselves. Merton rightly went on to clarify that it was not actually the body that had to die, but the false self, the self which we think we are. The false self is a substitute for our deeper and deepest truth as created children of God. The false self or egoic self is obsessed with me. Albert Haas, a Franciscan monk and educator, expanded on this in his book with the title, Coming Home to Your True Self, Leaving the Emptiness of False Attractions. Haas identified what he calls the empty peas of the false self. These are pleasure, praise, power, prestige, position, popularity, people, productivity, possessions, and perfection. Haas wrote, and I quote, "Many individuals have been seduced into following someone else's agenda, and that someone else is the false self. What follows is a reckless escapade campaign bent on discovering personal fulfillment. Once on this self-fulfilling trek of embracing the false self, people then develop their own tailor-made avoidance agenda that helps them cope with the pain, blame, criticism, disgrace, and loss. For this agenda tells its followers that pain and the like must be avoided at all cost." End of quote. On the other hand, we already have the comfort and fulfillment of all we need in our God-created and given self, our true self. We are created as children of God, of an abundant God, who wants to be our healer, comforter, source of wisdom, peace, and joy. God offers grace, mercy, and strength. Haas writes about making the choice for this fulfillment, the true self. He took the premise for his book from a quote by Meister Eckhart, a Dominican mystic from the 14th century. Eckhart wrote, "God is at home. It is we who have gone out for a walk." Haas writes about the spiritual journey being a return home, and that Christians most consciously and continually choose between the false and true selves. This is a radical concept. It is so radical that on the worldly surface, we think we do not know how to do it. But we already have all it takes by God's grace. This transformative evolution is difficult to grasp, not because it's so hard to understand and accomplish, but because it is so simple. It is as simple as making a radical personal choice between being true or false. Amen.